Okay, there you go. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Longside podcast, straight after the Millwall game that happened last night, and I'll get straight into the action very soon. We've also got a big topic for today, which, of course, if you have been aware of me and my history, you may have known or have seen my Burnley vlogs in the last couple of years. You may have been aware of it, you may have been a fan of it, you may have hated it. I kind of felt it would be an interesting topic to speak about my experiences with the Burnley vlogs, my kind of experiences with doing that, and kind of be a future of it in the near future with Burnley as we are entering into a pretty interesting couple of years ahead with Alan Pace and Vincent Kompany, hopefully in the Premier League. I'll be joined alongside with a guest who a lot of people to me have coined to be the new Vizeh in terms of Burnley vlogs. And I felt like in recent podcasts, I've had quite a lot of older guests on board in their mid-20s, early 30s, maybe even 40s. So I felt like doing a podcast with a member who I kind of see as representing a younger, new wave of Burnley fans. It is, of course, Jacob Horsfall. How you doing, my friend?
How you doing? Thanks. I'm happy to be here.
A lot of people have said to get you on in terms of getting like a younger fan on, because how old are you, may I ask?
16.
16, of course. So yeah. I'm 24, so I feel and I look like ancient compared to you. Of course, in recent months, you've come on the scene and really stamped your claim as, you know, kind of taking the gauntlet, I guess you could say, in terms of the Burnley vlogs and being the kind of new youthful wave of the Burnley scene. Is that something that you would agree?
Yeah, I guess, yeah. I'll take the comparisons, to be fair, yeah.
Well, it's what I hear, and to be fair, I do see a lot of similarities between me and you. That, like, when I was 16, 17, you look back at my Burnley vlogs back in the 15-16 season, for example, I was pretty much, I'll be honest, the exact same to you in terms of incredibly passionate about the football club, maybe too passionate at times that it just is almost overwhelming. I'll be honest, when I watched back on my own Burnley vlogs back in those kind of years, I don't know how people watched my videos. I'll be honest. Like, I was just all over the place in terms of my editing, but you seem like you've gained a bit more of a much more, I don't know what's the word to it, more conservative edge to it, I want to say, not as all over the place as my old content. In terms of Burnley vlogs, what was your first one?
My first ever one. Well, like, I only really started doing YouTube a little bit more consistently, like around August, like, so like the very start of the season from like Huddersfield. But my first vlog was when we got beat by Aston Villa at home last season.
That was your first one?
My first one, yeah.
Jesus, I thought it'd be one before that.
No, yeah, my first one. And then I did one when we got relegated by Newcastle. And then my first one where I like properly got into it was Huddersfield, which when I look back at it now, like the editing, like everything of the thumbnail, like everything about it is just like awful. But yeah, realistically, I count it as more August time as like the start, really.
Yeah, it seems like we both have a similar trend. That my first vlog that I did was in the 14-15 season, and the first one was against Leicester City in their home game. They lost 1-0. That the Matty Taylor penalty miss and Vardy went up to score. And that game was pretty much what sent us down that year. So it looks like we both have a bad omen when it comes to starting with Burnley vlogs. It sounds like. Introducing the chat as well, of course, for any listeners on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. We are also always live on my YouTube channel or my second channel, which is the Longside podcast as well. And you can come and join in and interact and get involved in the conversation. So, of course, Jamie Budd, Hype Clan, and Tinger is already in the stream. How you doing, boys? Happy to have you on. So before we get into the vlogs and kind of you, because I think some people, they may be aware of you, and I kind of want to give you the platform to kind of just showcase what you're about, really. Before we do get into that, we got a game to go through from yesterday. Millwall 1, Burnley 1. What's your reflection to that game?
Me, I think it's a brilliant point. I don't think people are really respecting how good of a team Millwall were going into this season. I really thought Millwall were going to push playoff, which they look like they're going to do. A lot of people give us a bit of stick for saying it, but I really respect Millwall. I think they've got a really good setup going. Reminds me of kind of a similar to Dyche Burnley type thing. They sit up, they're good at the back, they do well with minimal possession, they're fast in transition, things like that. And I think last night, considering we're coming off the back of another hard game away in Luton, to go to Millwall, get a point where we potentially deserved a little bit more. I think it was a brilliant performance. And I like Company said, we're not finished yet. We're not the end product. So to continue just to not lose, I think is just brilliant.
I find it remarkable to look back on how far we've come, because I saw many comments from Burnley fans, and I think even me as well, looking down on Millwall almost like this anti-football set piece, love inside. How dare they? Can they just play real football? And then, like, did we forget like what we've been doing for the last 5 years? You know, in the Premier League, like that's pretty much what we relied on every single game, and it just shows how kind of far that we've come in recent times, and also to kind of have that sort of humble pie almost, to kind of be like, to be on the receiving end of it, thinking, yeah, I completely get why so many people were so pissed off about us for all those years. Like, I can't imagine the fume of, like, let's say when we beat Liverpool 1-0 at Anfield, when we beat Arsenal 1-0 at the Emirates, when we beat City 1-0 to Turf in the 14-15 year, all these big wins, 3-2 at Stamford Bridge. I think we beat every single team in the top six, didn't we? At least once, at the very least. City, I think, was only once. Yeah. We always loved Manchester United, though. What a great club they are for shithousen. But yeah, to kind of be on the receiving end of that, Millwall, a great side in terms of how to do things. They know what they're good at. They know their strengths. They know their weaknesses. On the night, I felt like we were pretty good. Like, we had a lot of chances. I think that was the only annoyance. The fact that we did have so many chances in the first 10 minutes. Could have scored. Brownhill, it hit the poor second half. A few sort of snapshots of Twine in the first half too. Looking back on it, when you look back on our last 6 games, we had West Brom, Norwich, Preston and Derby. We also had, of course, Luton and then Millwall. And I believe one more team as well. Who's the other team that we also played? That was tough. Watford as well. Yeah. So coming out with 14 points out of those last 18 available, that's good going, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think when we look at Sheffield United and how they're doing at the moment in comparison, they've got something like 4 from a possible 12. And I think you look at the consistency, like we've gone from pretty much the start of November where that's when we kind of kicked on, I think, more so. You know, after that Sheffield United defeat, we got a wake-up call. We kind of started gelling properly. We saw what we were properly about. And we've continued from then. And it's just the fact that we're not losing. We're not letting teams get one over. We're completely, like, even Watford, when we did deserve to win that game, but they kind of edged it a little bit they just put the chance away, which obviously Muric gave to them. But we still found a way to get a result. Same with Millwall, we found a way to get a result. Luton, we found a way to get a result. That's the difference between us and Sheffield United, I think. Like, you're looking at them when they went to Millwall 2-2, they get an late equaliser, then Stone managed to hang on and lose the game. So I think just as long as we're continuing to not lose games, drop silly points, which Sheffield United are always going to do, then I think we're just showing that we are levels above, as in we've got, for some reason, even though we're younger than them, we've got probably one of the youngest squads, we seem to have that mature head just around the team, which has developed over the course of the season.
Absolutely, I do agree with the fact that people kind of do forget how young this team really is. We've got so many players in this team which aren't used to this kind of environment. Ekdal and Aldakil have not even been here for a month, and they've been thrown in starting at Millwall away, and Ekdal as well, Luton as well, who for me passed with flying colours. And then you got the likes of Zaruri, you got the likes of, I mean, actually saying that, is that really it? Muric as well. Muric, in terms of like players that may not be used to that kind of environment. We, of course, still got our old heads, Barnes, Brownhill, Cork, Cullen. And one more thing about the game from yesterday. Again, a few more complaints I'm hearing about Brownhill. And I've said on podcast saying that I'm open to the conversation, maybe speaking about the fact that maybe in Prem, maybe we can get an improvement on him, because I think that he's good at everything, but maybe not a star in one key aspect, which I think is, maybe you disagree. I think that is valid to say. Last night, I felt like he was good, though. I think that there was some critique that was a bit unfair on him, in my opinion.
I think we see a lot of the time, because like I saw some weird tweets saying that he didn't put the effort in. I think there's one thing you can say about Brownhill. He always puts 100% in, no matter what.
I saw that too, yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, a bit, because you can't say that Brownhill doesn't put 100% in every week, week in, week out. He might not be the greatest on the ball, and for me, I was also looking at it, I don't think he's defensively good enough to play in the 6 in the Prem, by the way, this is. I don't think he's technically good enough to play in the Cullen role, but I also don't think he's got the aspects you need to play in the 10. So next season, as much as I love Brown, I think he loves the club and I think you can see it. I would like to see us bring someone in. But then when he does play well, people just kind of seem to continue their agenda saying like he wasn't that good. I mean, he was unlucky not to score last night. And I think if he did score that, everyone would be singing his praises. And it's just, we forget how good he has been, how good he can be. Like the start of the season, he was literally, everyone was saying he's the best player in the league by a mile. As soon as he has a little blip,
I was one of them too as well. That Wigan performance, I was one of them.
Yeah, that
tweet still up.
But it's the fact that now he's having a little blip, everyone's straight away on his back. Oh yeah, he's not good enough. Which in the Premier League, I don't think he's going to be good enough for us if we want to, push past just being in a dogfight. But you can't argue with his effort levels, and every week he dies for the badge. So I think in the Championship, that's all we need at the moment. People saying he should be dropped. It's just like, who are you going to drop him for? Bastion?
Yeah, I mean, unless you have Cork and Colin, maybe just drop Brown and play Johan maybe as a 10. I don't know. I kind of feel like there's some revisionism there, really, because you're kind of just thinking of the chance that you miss and thinking, oh, okay, well, then we lost. Okay, it must be Brownhill's fault. Look, to kind of end off the Millwall game, I kind of feel like looking back on it, we all would have took it. The way that we continued the last 5 minutes, it sucks, but if it happened, if we're around, we would have been buzzing with it, right? So it's just how football is. You're not supposed to win each game. We've won almost every game this year, which is not normal. We've been spoiled, incredibly spoiled this year. So it just is what it is. Sometimes you've just got to have those games. We look ahead. We've got our next 3 games. We've got Huddersfield. We've got Blackpool. We've got Wigan. They are all in the bottom 3. Okay, like we're facing the current bottom 3 teams in a row right now. So we look at also where Borough, where Sheffield United are also playing some tough teams. I think this weekend, Sheffield United play against Watford, and that Borough plays against West Brom away. Tough games, right? So by the time we face those 3 games, hopefully 9 points, I think I can easily, comfortably say that and not feel like I'm being naive. We should beat those 3 teams quite easily. Just you wait till we lose 2 of them. And then you can blame me for that, lads. I do apologise. Then we'll have 10 games left at the end of the year. We'll be potentially 15, 17 points clear of 3rd. We're laughing, aren't we?
Yeah, definitely. It's typical of us though. Like we've always been so reactionary. Like even when like literally the littlest thing will happen. Like when Company was appointed, you had the people going, "Oh, but he doesn't have the experience," like all that sort of thing. When Scott Twine didn't play a couple of games, everyone started saying that he'd like been shot and been held by the mafia or something like that.
Oh, the Twine conspiracy theories.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
There was one that was like quite big, saying that he was going through like some mental health issues, which like, I'm not going to say that didn't happen. I don't know for sure, but that gained a lot of traction. I felt like people saying that he had mental health issues because he's injured, and that that he's not even injured, and that he's homesick and he wants to go back home. He wants to go back down south. Therefore, we heard some things that who's it, Swansea were going to sign him or something. I don't know, Plymouth as well. Plymouth wanted him back on loan. And it's like, honestly, lads, like, can we not be happy for once and not just try to like be the the constructors of our own downfall and failure here. You know, like, can we just enjoy ourselves and just not always think there's some mad conspiracy behind everything? Like, this isn't just by the way, I must say, this is not just a Burnley thing. This is every football fan thing.
Yeah, definitely. But I just think, like, whenever Burnley don't win, I just mute Burnley on Twitter, because you just have all the people that have, like, they probably didn't even watch the game. They just listened to Phil Bird on the radio and start waffling about their least favourite player was awful. Like you said before, Brano gets it in the neck all the time. So after games where we've not absolutely leathered someone, I just don't even go on Twitter unless I'm uploading the vlog. I just don't go on Twitter.
Fair enough. So that's kind of like rounding off the Millwall game. So let's get into, I guess, the title of this podcast, and that is into the Burnley vlogs. Because some people may care for it, some people may not. I always feel like, to kind of start off this conversation, I always feel like there's definitely as a person that, I guess, in the Burnley scene was the starter of it, I guess, for quite a few years back in 15 till COVID year, basically. There's most definitely a place for it. And my reason is the amount of people in the last 5, 6, 7 years that talk to me on Twitter, in real life, on Instagram comments, in my Twitch comments, whatever, right? And they say to me that they have either a soft spot for Burnley or they even support Burnley because of my videos. Now, I'm not saying that I'm like a massive figurehead for why people support Burnley, but that is an element of it, that people may be a fan of a channel. If it's me, if it's anyone else, this series is a part of the channel, and they become invested in it. And that's just one side of it. It's so diverse. For example, Burnley fans who live overseas. We know quite a few people that live overseas. There's the American lad. Is it Brett? What's his name? Brett?
Yeah, Brett. Yeah,
we both know him. Great lad. And that he told me that he loved my stuff because he can experience what Turf Moor is like in an authentic, raw setting, what the atmosphere is like, what it's like to be around the area, meeting and talking to the locals. They love that, the experience to go to an away game. So to start off this point, I feel like for people that may have an issue with Burnley vlogs or vlogs, match-going vlogs in general in football games, I feel like it's people trying to either show off to maybe mates of theirs that, like, oh, they're too cool to watch that or care about it, or simply trying to gatekeep something that really sends a lot of people, like, it's not something that you can maintain and sustain. Because, for example, people say that, let's say, for example, Old Trafford, right? Not everyone can go inside Old Trafford. That's Man United fans, because there's like 10 million United fans, right? It's a 70-odd thousand seater stadium. So, of course, there's going to be people that are going to want to go to the games and are going to want to see what it's like that can't go. So they see it on YouTube. And that is just the same thing, but on a minute scale when it comes to Burnley. What's your thoughts on it?
Yeah, 100%. Like, I think people that slay it, it's like, I don't really see what's wrong with it unless it personally affects you on the games, as in if you're sat in front of someone or, you know, next to them, then I guess you can just ask them to move. But it's the fact when you have people complain about it, when it offers so much. Like, for me, like, when I was at when I went to Old Trafford for United away, I had like sort of fan from the disability section came up with us, and basically his dad was saying, like, thanks so much for doing your vlogs. Like, he gets to experience it properly because obviously he can't, with him like being in a wheelchair, things like that. And I just think stuff like that makes it so worth it. And when you have like fans from like Spain, Brett, like you said, like they don't get to experience it. But then when you've got like 14-year-old Tommy who doesn't like it because he thinks he's massive and hard and he doesn't want other people to watch his team, don't like it for literally no reason, I think it's really stupid. I think what you said about gatekeeping is pretty much spot on. Like, I think a lot of people like treat football, which it is like a culture, but treat it as something that can't be shared outside of just the game.
I must say and add this as well, right? Is that the main chunk, 90%, 95% of people are cool. They're calm. Either they like it or they just don't give a shit and they just let you do their own thing, your own thing, right? And that's the main large chunk of people that I got to really like make sure that people know that I do understand that. But the ones that don't like it, they make it very, very well aware to you, very clear. The amount of times that I've been antagonized, I've been not attacked, but very, very close to coming to some sort of physical altercation with fans at away games, simply because I had a camera. And this is when I was 16, 17. I was going to away games. I had a camera. They may not like the fact that a camera could be in their face. So let's say if I'm ahead of them and I'm having the camera facing towards me, facing towards them, they start kicking off. And it's like, I simply do not, maybe because they had too much to drink, and that could be a big part of it as well. But those kind of people, they just kind of ruin it for everyone else, in my opinion. And again, as I said, it's definitely the minority of people who are like that. But it's a shame. It's a shame. Like, for example, I went to Aberdeen, right? Aberdeen, Europa League, dream to have that experience, right? And I think a month beforehand, I had a tweet of me reacting to the draw. I don't know if you remember this, of me reacting to the draw, saying like we could have gone to anywhere across effing Europe, and we're going to Scotland, right? And that kicked off all over the entirety of Aberdeen Twitter. I was on Scottish Twitter, which you would know, Jacob, is a very, very, very bad place to end up at. If you're the main focus of Scottish Twitter, even for a day, it's a rough time for you, right? So I was put up on Aberdeen Facebook pages, forums, the entire shebang, right? So I go to Aberdeen expecting me to get glassed by an Aberdeen fan. Guess what? I had one problem with one Aberdeen fan. I had 5 problems with other Burnley fans. It was Burnley fans that had the problem. I remember we were in the square 3-4 hours before kickoff. Anyone that was at Aberdeen, you would know what I'm about. There was a Wetherspoons at like on a corner of a street on one of the main streets in Aberdeen, just outside, and there was a main square where all Burnley fans were located, having drinks, whatever else. I remember one fan walking up to me, and he was with his wife or girlfriend, his partner, right? He walks up to me, a big lad, and I still see him, and I still make eye contact at games now to this day, that I still see him, and I still remember. He walks up to me, puts his arm around me, Papa squeezes me up and say like, "You're an effing embarrassment, you know that, right?" I'm like, "Cheers, pal, cheers." It's like, "No, you make me sick. You make us all sick. You just like, I'm an embarrassment to the fan base." I'm like, "Cool, man. Thanks, appreciate it." And then he tries to like pour like a bottle of like a full pint of beer on my head and just completely misses me. And I'm like, I look back on that still to this day of thinking like, I just don't get why people have this idea. And to you, Jacob, have you had an experience like that?
I've genuinely, like, I think I've been fairly lucky from like pretty much everyone else that I've spoke to, like other people that I know that do like stuff like vlogging games. Like, I've never ever really had an experience raw, other than like lads that sit behind us or like make a sign whilst I'm talking or whatever. But like, it doesn't bother us really. It's just like a joke, you know, like a little laugh. But I've never really had anyone kick off at all, which I think I'm quite lucky for. Like, no one's really said anything. Like, most of the time it's people try and get in the vlogs more than anything, which obviously, like, I don't mind at all. So I think I'm quite lucky when it comes to that kind of thing.
And to kind of start off with you as well, in terms of you as a Burnley fan, just very simple question. Why do you support Burnley?
Right. So it's a nice and complicated one. So obviously I was born in Newcastle, well, kind of close to Sunderland. And then I moved to Burnley when I was young. My dad's side of the family, all Burnley fans. Granddad's had a season ticket for like ever. So I used to get taken on to Newcastle games and Burnley games. This was Newcastle in Europe as well. Burnley were like in the Championship. So I was going on Burnley games, going on some Newcastle games. Obviously, I'll end up living in Burnley for a few years. Then I moved back to Newcastle. Didn't really do too much of football. Kind of didn't really enjoy it. Then went back to Burnley. Got took on a few more games. And I remember we beat Bristol. I think it was Bristol City, like 4-0, 4-1 or something at the Turf. And I remember that was like the moment where I was like I love this. Like, I love Burnley. Like, I remember I was only like 4, 5 maybe, and I remember just being like, shit, like this is sick. Like, this is so good.
The Bristol's, you're not all the way till 9, the last game before the playoffs.
Potentially, yeah.
I mean, if you said that you were 4, like,
yeah.
We beat them like 4-1, 4. I think it was actually 4. It was 4-0. 4-0.
Yeah,
It was like 2 penalties as
so
well.
I would have been like 3.
Christ almighty, man. I feel ancient talking to you. Jesus Christ.
I
Yeah,
know.
that was our last game before playoffs. We beat them 4-0. I think it was like 2-3 penalties in that game as well. And like, wow, I feel old. Wow. That's mad. So yeah, you remember that. It's because people may hear you seeing your Burnley vlogs be like, this kid has a Geordie accent.
Yeah,
Why is he doing? Because people may say, and I'm sure that you've received it quite a lot, saying if you're from Newcastle with your voice, why aren't you a Newcastle fan? So, what would you like to say to people that ask that question?
see, for me, it's like when I was growing up, like I said before, I went to Newcastle games, I went to Burnley games. Like obviously, like half my family wanted us to become a Newcastle fan, the other half wanted us to be a Burnley fan, and it was just the fact like constantly I was just surrounded by going on Burnley games, going to the turf, constantly around Burnley. And I remember, like I said, that Bristol game, I just fell in love, and I was like, this is like I love this. Like this, I want to do this. Like I at that moment, even though I was only like 3, I just remember going home just buzzing. And my granddad dropped us off at home, and I remember just being like, "This is like so good." And then I was a mascot when we drew with West Ham 2-2. I think we were like 2-0 up, but then we bottled it and drew 2-2. And I got I remember I think it was McCann at the time give us his shirt because I was on with him, and he gave us his shirt.
Bloody Chris McCann, what a boy!
I've got his shirt framed somewhere down there. And it was just like that was like again, that was another one of them where I was like, wow, this is like sick. And I never really went on many Newcastle games other than I think I remember watching the Europa League once or twice, but it was just the fact that I was surrounded by Burnley. And then when I was like, the season we got Europe is when like I fully committed to start trekking down from Newcastle to Burnley every week in, week out, every time I'd be there. And it was just because that's when I got a season ticket. My granddad managed to get us one then. I wasn't like glory hunting or anything. I just got the season ticket then, so then started going down more. And then that season, where as much as it wasn't like brilliant, I remember just being like just the experience, the atmosphere, everything. I just fell in love, and then that was like it. There was like not really much going back from once I had my season ticket, and then it was just Burnley, I guess.
Yeah, by the way, I must say, I highly doubt that there'd be many Burnley fans that be questioning you, saying that you're a glory hunter. I don't think there'd be many fans that saying that being a Burnley fan is a glory hunter. Like, you know what I mean?
Honestly, I've legitimately had it. Like, on my TikTok videos, like, I've had, like, literally saying, like, why do you support Burnley? Stop glory hunting, go support your local club.
Which is Newcastle, which is a bigger club, isn't it? Like that's bonkers. I remember there was a conspiracy theory on I'm not going to say the forum, but it's a forum that a lot of Burnley fans know. That I don't think I'm quite well. I am welcomed on by like 80%, but there's a 20% that like just doesn't like social media, I guess in general, right? And there's a conspiracy theory that because of my voice, because for example, how do you say Burnley? For example,
me, but
yeah,
like Burnley.
Yeah, the thing is, because you're not going to Burnley accent. Burnley accents say like Burnley.
Yeah,
it's like a le.
yeah.
It's like almost like you when it's a breath. It's Burnley, but I say Burnley, and people saw that and felt like, and they came to an idea that I'm not actually from Burnley, and that I'm from somewhere in Yorkshire or somewhere in Lancashire, but I'm not from Burnley at all. I'm from Barrowford, which is 7-minute drive from Burnley, which is a bit of, I guess, a posh village. I guess you could say, I'm born in Burnley. I'm raised from Barrowford. I guess maybe that's why my voice is not a prime Burnley accent, I guess. But yeah, there was conspiracy. Apparently I was glory hunting and using the club for views and relevance, which I must say, to kind of stamp that down, if I was to use any club for views and relevance, it would not be Burnley. I got to remind you of that one. We're surrounded by Liverpool and Manchester United. My oldest brother is a Man United fan. I was raised with my mum's side of family buying me Liverpool shirts and my brother buying me United shirts and my other brother giving me Burnley shirts. If I want to be a glory hunter, I had all the very well reasons. I was given United anthems and calendars growing up and posters when I was like 7. But my middle brother, Ashley, took me to turf, taught me James Hargreaves at the age of I started the 04, 05 year. And then, I'd rather go see games at the weekends. Like, if I want to go see United on TV, what's the point when I can actually go to an actual real life football game at the weekend? Yeah. And that was kind of the choice that I had at age 7, 8. And that just made sense to me. And I think there could be other people that had that same choice, had that same opinion. And of course, the thing is, right, everyone has their own story. They have their own journey in football, right? So yours is probably quite different compared to other Burnley fans, which is you're born in Burnley, you support Burnley, your family all Burnley. Mine's not really.
Yeah,
My
yeah.
dad couldn't care less, which is a shame. But thankfully my brother was. So yeah. Do you ever get a bit down sometimes when people like kind of questions you?
Well, it's like you'll get like people just come on and be like, oh, you're a fake fan type thing, and I'm like someone come to my TikTok going like, oh, you're just a shit Vizeh, like you're a fake fan, and I was like with all due
I
respect,
agree.
with all due respect, I've been to more games than Vizeh this season. I don't like.
Oh come on!
No, like no, like
Give me a
I
chance.
know obviously you've moved away and stuff, and you've done it all before, but I was like, you're calling us a fake Vizeh. I've literally this season I've clocked up like 4,000 miles. Majority of them are just going to the turf to go. Like every game for me is like it's a 3-hour drive.
Yeah, I know your pain.
And it's like people sit there going, "Oh, you're a fake fan," but it's hard to be a fake fan when I literally travel It's a 6-hour round trip just to go watch us play like Huddersfield at home or something like that. Like it would be fair enough if I sat at home and just watched it and then just like was like Burnley, woo, like
basically what I'm doing now. Then, Ian
but
in chat saying born and raised in Burnley but live in Canada now. Whereabouts? I got family over in Vancouver, if you know. Well, of course you know where Vancouver is. I don't sound Burnley when I say anymore. Soul Boy saying posh Balford boy. Of course, Vizeh, B-Town, my friend. And then Tinger saying, but I thought both of your vlogs on Remembrance Sunday were class against the Horse Fiddlers. Thank you very much, my friend. So it's a strange one, I think, because again, a lot of people are cool about it, and you're about your journey from Newcastle now, and it's weird enough that like I went to uni there, and I guess you probably saw my vlogs, and maybe people may be aware of it as well. Oh, I don't know why I did it. I don't know why I did it in terms of I took mega buses every single game for every home and away game every weekend for 2 years straight when I was a Newcastle man. I don't know why I did it because the megabus itself was 6 hours from Newcastle to Manchester. And then I go from Manchester X23 to Burnley. And then, of course, I got to go back again. That's for a home game. So it's 12 hours of travel for Burnley v Bournemouth at home, right? That's just every home game. 12 hours for a home game. It's nuts. But I just did it because what else am I going to do with my weekends? Again, I had a comment, people saying like, I make money off the club. I can show you my analytics if you want to. I can show you. Yeah, I mean, you've done vlogs. You know how much money it costs to really do them.
Oh yeah.
I've not made break even in any of my Burnley vlogs. Even I think my highest viewed video was an 85,000 viewed video for when we beat Chelsea 3-2 at Stamford Bridge. And like the CPM was atrocious because guess what? There's a lot of swearing at Burnley games or really any games in general. So the CPM is awful. So I think I may have made like £30 from it, which that is just the price of the match ticket alone. Yeah. So you know what I mean? It's just, it's just one of them, isn't it?
Yeah, I think the most you can get back from it is pretty much your ticket, unless you get ones where they're like banging and like, like if you go to like a massive game but following Burnley, you don't really get many of those. So like, I think it's a stupid argument if people say that you make money off Burnley because realistically, all you're doing is you would have done the exact same experience just without a camera in your face. So
absolutely, and same thing for you as well.
Yeah, like I don't change when I go on. Or when I'm recording myself, or if I was to go on with my mates, like in my videos, I'm still giving it large to the away end. Like I'm still like me and my mates are still having a laugh. Like my mates still saying he thinks Bayer's going to score a hat trick every week. And it's like,
oh yeah, you're a Vitinho boy, aren't you?
Yeah, I got the Vitinho vest. Yeah.
You and that bloody bib, Jesus.
See, the thing is, end of the
I
season,
hope you wash it.
I have to wash it every week. It's like it takes ages. But at the end of the season, might have to give the old boy away get Vitinho to sign it, get it given away. Yeah, like I don't change. Like me going on every week and me going on with my camera is like the exact same thing. So the argument that you're making, money's like also if they were given the exact same opportunity, if someone had your platform, was given the opportunity to go watch their team home and away and also get a bit of money for it. But they're not going to say no realistically. I think a lot of it also does stem from jealousy. Like it takes a lot. Like I hate when like if I'm not with like my mates, or if I go to a game by myself and I have to sit there and record and someone's next to us, like I hate it. Like it makes us so nervous because I feel like I'm making it awkward for someone else, or I don't want people to like feel awkward being stood next to us and stuff like that. Like it takes a lot of confidence to pull the camera out and like start just shouting at your camera in front of a bunch of people.
If you watch like my first ones back in like the 15-16 season, you could tell that it's almost like I had like a neck ache because you're just looking upwards the entire time because you have the camera like this, just kind of looking upwards so that people behind you can't tell. And it's like, it is a confidence thing. And of course, like it's not like something that's, I'm not crying about it like it's my own choice to do it. But it's just kind of like you've got to, the best ones are the ones with the most confidence that you just don't care about people's opinions, but like you still want to care about people's opinions. That's something that I always care about because I don't want to annoy someone else's day because like I'm in front of them with a camera and they may not want to be in a camera, right? So like I always make sure I talk to people around me if I can that I'm doing this. Most people, I guess, by the end of it, recognize me anyway, so they just knew what was going on and they got used to it. But like for the most part, very limited people really had a problem with it. I'm very happy for that. Quickly as well, in the chat, we've got Sonic the Hedgehog here saying that you got done at the Den. We drew 1-1. I don't know if you're aware.
So
but
many Millwall fans are so gassed.
it was a draw, but big.
What a 3 points for Millwall. What a promotion for Millwall. Woo!
I'm gonna say, I never would have had Sonic the Hedgehog as a Millwall fan, but you learn something new every day, boys. So I want to end off on like a good note in terms of, kind of like that experience. One of my like most like maddest moments and now like almost humbling almost was actually this year. It wasn't a Burnley vlog, just me going to a game. It was commentary away, and that I was down in the concourse like an hour before kickoff. It was me and ND Drake. You probably see him on Twitter, right?
Oh, yeah,
I went to game with him. Was in the concourse, and then like a group of like young lads, like your age, like 60, 70, recognized us, right?
It was, yeah.
Yeah, and they all came over to me and they were like saying some of the maddest things I've ever heard in my life. Saying like I'm like the hero and like they've watched me since all this and like they basically like blowing smoke up my arse so much that I literally thought they were just lying to me. They were just trying to like, I thought they were taking the piss out of me, really. I thought they were like being so kind that it's actually mocking me. Yeah, but then like I asked them like, how old are you guys? And they're like 17, 18. I'm like, holy shit. When I was doing my Burnley vlogs, when I was 15, in 15, 16, I would have been 14 years of age. These lot would have been like 10. Of course, if you're 10, what are you doing? What are you doing with your spare time? Probably watching YouTube. So if you're watching a Burnley vlog or some kid, of course, you're probably going to watch it too. So then it hit me thinking, I am well old. It hit me. I was like, I am ancient because like these kids are like 18 now and they looked up to me when I was like 13, 12. And I'm like, I am. That's why I had to take a step back from the Burnley vlogs. I was like, yeah, I'm not for this anymore. I can't get used to this. I mean, I stopped, because I just kind of want to enjoy it now, in terms of the cameras. I don't want to, when we're watching a game, you don't want to, like, for every attack, take the camera out just in case something happens. Yeah. I kind of just want to watch it and not think about it anymore because I've done it for like 4 or 5 years, right? So to like end off on like a good note, that was really like humbling for me because like I realized how many people actually saw me and actually cared, which I never really felt that way. I would have done it if I didn't have a camera anyway. I would have just got to the games anyway, normally.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Have you had a moment like that?
What, like, one of the most surreal ones was Teller. Obviously, Teller followed us on Twitter, and I remember, like, it wasn't like with a vlog, but he followed us, then he messaged us saying he'd watched one of my videos and was like, oh, like, it was sick, like, it was good, and like, shit like that, and I was just like, I remember I dropped my phone, because, like, I think...
I dropped my phone?
No, I'd been on live with Matson, and then I turned it off, and then I was like, I turned around, I was just doing my revision, like, for school and stuff. And then I went on my phone, and I just said, Nathan Teller followed you. And then a couple of weeks later, I'd messaged him something like, he'd just been injured, and I was like, oh, like, hope you're doing good. And that, because, like, I was really nervous to say anything to him, like, I didn't want to seem like, I didn't want to seem like a little fanboy, basically, even though I am. But, and then he messaged us, and he was like, oh, like, I watched your video that you did. It was like class. Like I loved it. And I just remember just being like, what? That was mental. I just mean like Nathan Teller sat down and watched us. It was just like, what? And then like he messages on Christmas saying Merry Christmas and that. I was just like, what? Why? And then like same with like the first time I got asked for a photo was at on the derby, and I remember just being like, why? Like I
Was that the
didn't
first
say
time
why,
you asked
but
for a photo?
yeah, I got stopped and
Get
I was
used
like,
to
oh,
it. Get used to it.
it was just like, he was like, can I have a picture with you? And I was like, yeah, like, of course you can. And I was just being like, it was just mental, like being like asked for a photo from someone. Like literally all I do is just go to Burnley games, random games, or just waffle. And it was like mental to me to think that people like actually care that much about the stuff that I make, that they'd want to have like a photo to be like kind of like remember as like you remember that the meta type thing. It's just like it was just unbelievable. Like it was so cool, I guess.
Yeah, and those are really humbling like experiences. Absolutely. One thing that I'll say about Teller is that because like he's a sound lad, he's very into like online scene and like he speaks to us as well. And I probably shouldn't say because maybe it's like an offline thing. I've not said it since, of course, on publicly. But the one thing about Teller is that he's honestly such a good lad because on Christmas Day,
100%, 100%.
for me, like it's not even Christmas Day for you guys, pretty much everyone. Christmas Day on 25th, right? But in Poland, it's on 24th. And the fact that he went out of his way, he DM'd me personally on Twitter, wishing me Merry Christmas to my family. And I'm just there like it's no one else did. Like one other person actually wished me Merry Christmas on Merry Christmas for where I live in Poland, right? Because religion they celebrate it when the sun goes down. That's where Jesus was born. RE class for you guys here quickly, all right, boys. So the fact that Teller DM me on like my Christmas Day, I guess, Sonia's Christmas Day, is like it just shows the kind of person he is. And it's I look at that, I'm like, there's no way he's not coming back to us. There's no way.
I like this is like a little thing, but I'm doing a video. Vizeh, you already know about it, and he's messages like saying like, just come meet him after the game and that, and I'm not gonna say what the video's about, but including him, and he's just like straight away, like he's like completely sound with it, like yeah, I just dropped him a little message, and he was like, oh yeah, just come round and like sort it out or whatever. And I was just like that's like just like how sound he is and like how like 100% he is mental.
Got a fan in the chat here saying, any chance you could send company back to Anderlecht, pretty please?
They're doing awful without him, aren't they?
Yeah, no, that's my response back to that one. We're so sorry, but no. But we do wish you well. I've got a bit of a soft spot. I think we all do now for Anderlecht. Thanks to company. So we do wish you a lot well, of course, over in Belgium. But yeah, I've never seen a player have so much passion than Teller. And it's weird because he's a lone player. But like if you watch him, and we've all seen him, I've never seen a player like wind up the opposition fans so much, even wind up their players. Like when we score, I always have like, but when we score a goal, I always, when I watch the highlights, I like watch it back 5-6 times. I want to see each individual player to see how they celebrate. Bayer, he's always hands up in the air. Brownhill, he's always proper going for it. Players like Benson, as I already, maybe they're a bit more not as animated because maybe that's just their personality. But then there's Teller. Jesus Christ, bro! Like shapes. That's all I can say about Teller is shapes everywhere. Like literally, I don't know how he's not put an ACL celebrating yet because he's just mad, and I love that about him. There's no way he's not coming back to Burnley next year. That's what I'm going to say about that. And yeah, we've spoken a lot about kind of like our experiences, kind of YouTube and that. Is there anything else you want to add before we move on to next topic?
What with like YouTube and stuff?
Yeah, just like I don't know, like where can you see? Like when I started, right, there was really only one other like Burnley fan content channel, and that was the No Name Never podcast. That was the only thing that we had from like I think they started all the way back to like 2011, 2012. They've been about for a long time. I was listening to their podcast back in 2012, 2013, and I think they got me on the podcast in 2014, 15. good lads, the OGs of the Burnley platform. I nothing but respect for them. And of course, there's a few more now recent years, Turfcast, Top BFC, for example, that now that we're in Premier League, I always feel like we need more content creators in the scene because, especially now with the club going the way that it is, reaching out to so many people across the world. I mean, you've seen the players that we've been signing, South Africa. We've got so many South Africans in the comments now that they are loving Burnley, over in Morocco, over in Belgium, of course, obviously. There's so much growth for this football club that it's so exciting to see where we could be in 5 years' time.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like for me, obviously, the stuff that I do, I don't want to all over on Burnley, but just the fact that I go with games, and it's just the fact to experience it on. I think bringing people along with it's there's not many things you can do better. Like you said, South Africans, Moroccans, they're never gonna realistically experience the turf, but when you've got Lyle Foster, doing stuff like that, they all love it. So the fact that we've got more people now kind of putting content out, whether it's just pre-match stuff, post-match stuff, it's just it's always going to be a good thing. I don't think you can ever really have a bad thing unless it's obviously someone doing dodgy stuff. But
yeah.
But it's all pretty much class. I mean, Talk BFC, the stuff they're doing. Turfcast, obviously, Turf More Loyal, all them lads are just all obviously doing their own thing, and they're all kind of doing their own unique way, which is just class. Because I think a lot of people people from South Africa, like Moroccans, kind of can get a bit of more of a feel from that. Then obviously you've got people that are doing vlogs, like myself, they can get an experience what it's actually like to go on a game.
Yeah, and I think that when we are in Prem next year, it will only explode. I mean, we've seen news today, of course, more of a new sort of point here. Burnley tweeted out today, due to high demand, we currently have no seats available for new season ticket holders. However, you can join our waiting list. Our waiting list for season tickets at Burnley. Now, please someone correct me. I don't think I've ever seen a waiting list for Burnley. Ever. Please correct me if I'm wrong here. But we're in February and there's already a waiting list, which is nuts. Which just shows how exciting. Because the one thing that people may not understand, right? And we do as we're Burnley, but we're surrounded by Manchester, Liverpool, Leeds. We're surrounded by massive clubs within a 1 hour drive of us. And the fact that we are relatively still a small town, I think in the recent population, 94,000 population of Burnley, right? Maybe want to gather the surrounding regions, Colne, Nelson, wherever else, Clitheroe, add that in, maybe 110,000, right? Even still, nowhere near the population of a normal city. Let's say Leicester, right? Let's say Newcastle, right? Nowhere near. The fact that we've got this core fan base to us is so impressive to me. And not only the new season ticket holders that we're having because of how we're doing, how we're playing, but even in recent years in Prem was always 18, 19. This year, selling out each time round. In other years in Championship, I think the lowest it ever really was maybe, I want to say 11, 12K. The worst it ever was. And in the early 2010s era, right? After the original Premier League, I think those 11, 12 years with I want to say 10,000 was maybe the worst it ever was, right? Excluding cup games, obviously. So, because you see it with Wigan, for example, Wigan, Preston, Bolton. You look at the fan base of those teams and they're struggling because they're surrounded by Man United and Man City and Liverpool and Everton, right? So people around there, they just think, what's the point of bothering? We seem to always have that strong core at Burnley. That is something that we should be so proud of.
Oh, I think it's what I've said is Burnley's the biggest small club, if that makes sense. As in, we are realistically, it's a very small town, but the fact that we get literally a quarter of Burnley on the turf every week is mental. Like you said, with so many big clubs living just around Burnley, the fact that we get so many on is such a credit to the club and how it's been sort of brought up. And I think companies kind of, I don't want to say Dyche lost that kind of aspect, but I think companies really connected the club, the fans. Pace, now that he's come in, really reconnected the club and the fans with obviously stuff that happened with like Garlic not necessarily investing too much money, like all that sort of thing. I think a lot of the fans kind of got a bit sick of it. But the fact that we've now got that reconnection again, it's everything Burnley's about. You know, the club is the town. It's like company said when he came in, he didn't want to lose that branding of Burnley, and he's not. Like the fact how well connected we are as a fan base with the club is just it's brilliant, because you don't see many clubs like that. You don't even like big clubs, you don't see where they're so connected to the fan base. So I think
I mean, the thing is, they can't be like the big clubs. They can never be, can they?
Exactly.
But like we're seeing Alan Pace just wander around, just turf.
He's in the fan zone at the weekend, just little Alan Pace. He's like 4 foot tall, just wandering around.
Don't be like that to him, man. Okay, he's a bit small, but like, come on, like like I don't want to. Please don't have a go at me, Alan Powell. But like, you are adorable. Honestly, that's gonna sound so like patronizing, but like, honestly, he's the nicest guy, and like, honestly, he's just so. You would think with like. You'd be scared to like confront him, to like not maybe confront isn't what to use, like to walk up to him, to like say hi, how you doing? Can I get a photo? Can I ask a question about Burnley? Whatever else. He's so approachable, and that's what I love so much about him. The fact that like that's not normal. It's not a normal thing to have as chairman in this level, Championship, Premier League level club, to be like that, and we should absolutely make the most out of it.
Yeah, it's brilliant. Like it's like exactly. Like, it's exactly why Burnley, like we keep them roots. So I guess you could speak, of like a club that are built from the fans, and Alan Pace has really bought into that kind of thing around Burnley. Like we are built from our fan base, and I think as much as people say like it isn't the biggest numbers, like the fact, like I said before, it's like a quarter of Burnley are on the turf. If you go in Burnley on a match day, it's just claret and blue. Not even on a match day, just on a match weekend. You could go on Friday night, Saturday morning, it's just claret and blue everywhere, which is like it's so big, and it's why the club I think do so well.
Yeah, I think that like growing up in Balfour, 7-minute drive away. I would like to say the percentage of like Burnley fans to like Liverpool fans or United fans. I want to say it was about 30% Burnley. I think growing up, 30% Burnley, and the rest was kind of like a mixture of mainly Man U or Liverpool, and then you had an Arsenal, like the Chelsea, randomly, right? And maybe the odd like Preston, Blackburn, whatever, right? I would like to know what it is now, and of course, maybe someone in chat or in the comments can like comment down below. What do they think it is? Maybe you've got a son or a daughter that is in school that maybe you can kind of tell when you go and pick them up, kind of what the percentage is, because you would imagine that it is a big jump now, like from where I was growing up. Because we were always, when I was growing up, of course, always a mid-table championship team. Before I was born, of course, but pre-98, we were in the 3rd division, also the 4th division as well. Proper rough times, proper tough times. When I was born, I was always seeing us in championship. The Coca-Cola, the classic days. That's what I was used to. And yeah, we had it was still a decent following. I think it was like 9K, 9, 10, 11K in the mid thousands, I want to say. From my memory, maybe people may have disagreements with that. But yeah, I would like to see what it is now, because I imagine it's a lot more cotton blue now, I hope.
Yeah, you'd imagine so, especially like you think how many milestones we've kind of been through, like over the past, I want to say decade, like Europe, I mean, the promotion seasons, all the time with Daesh, like now the takeover with Pace, Company, probably one of the best centre-backs of all time coming in, like just things like that. I think, like you said before, when we talk about the influencer side of bringing in fan bases, I think if you look at Company, these big kind of people that are associated with Burnley now bring a massive following. Even Alan Pace brings an American following with him, I suppose, because people will see like, oh, I want to pick if the people start watching football, I want to pick someone with an association to America. Burnley's got that American side with Alan Pace type thing. And I think it's like it will shoot up because Burnley are talked about now. I guess, not saying we were ignored, but at the time of you growing up, we weren't really anything special, where nowadays, if you ask someone about Burnley, they go, oh yeah, the shit houses that sat with 11 men behind the ball at Anfield. Like, even if we don't do that now, that's what we're known for. Everyone knows Burnley for being that little club that always nick results type thing.
Yeah, and I cannot wait to see the reaction. Because the thing is, right, because I also fell victim to it as well. Like when we were in Premier League for how long, I really did not know really much of the championship whatsoever. Like when you're in that world, when you're in that bubble, you don't really see too much about it, unless if you go out of your way to like search for it yourself, right? So I wouldn't blame people for having no idea. Lad, a YouTube friend of mine last week, he sent me a DM like, "Oh, you lot doing good, aren't you?" It's like, "Yeah." It's like, "Who's your manager?" And I didn't reply back to him, and I've still aired him since. He asked us who's our manager. It's like, how can I even have a conversation with you about Burnley if you don't even know who's our manager, man? It's like, come on. And like that's the thing. People in Premier League, those Arsenal, Man United, Liverpool fans, they have no idea. So when we are in Premier League next year, they're gonna have a big shock. A big shock. And I cannot wait.
100%. It's like the football the football like hippies are gonna love it. They're gonna be absolutely buzzing. All the hipsters that are like loving all the new football, like the Brightons and all that sort of thing. Burnley's gonna be the new like Brighton. Everyone's gonna be like, "Oh, Burnley had 6 xg against Bournemouth."
ESG.
It's gonna just be whipped out constantly, and I'm all here for Anas Saruri. What a baller! He did a flip flop. Yes, injected the TikTok edits when Manuel Benson does a
Burnley
nutmeg.
players doing flip flops. Oh, we got Brazilians doing nutmegs. We got tricky Moroccans doing flip flops.
It's mental.
They got a goalkeeper who's our best passer in the team.
Sits outside the edge of his box for like a full. His average position against Preston was outside his box.
Our best CDM.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe not best passer in the team, but he's not. He's at least the top 5. I want to say. Jesus Christ.
100%. That one against West Brom.
I can't wait to see people react to us next year. Let's round off this pod. Let's talk about the next game. We've got Huddersfield up next. I mean, I guess actually let's just kind of cover these next 3 games as kind of general here, because really they're all kind of the same game. Huddersfield, Blackpool, Wigan, all bottom 3, all against teams that we should be beating quite comfortably. Wigan are at home as well, Blackpool away. I mean, is there a world where you can see us not get 9 points?
No. 100% should be 9 points, should be passing with flying colours. I think when I watched the interview at Millwall where company goes, we're just missing that end product, which I think Huddersfield are going to be on the end of that end product that we didn't have at Millwall. I think company will have them fully drilled. I thought we were going to bounce back a bit better than we did against Luton. I really saw battering Luton after the Watford performance, but I guess we're limited by quite a few injuries. I think as soon as Benson comes back, he offers us a much more dynamic approach. So I think teams, when we're playing Zaruri and Teller on the wings with Barnes up front, we're kind of limited to the same thing, because even if you take off Zaruri, bring Gudmundsson on, you're still limited to Teller going in behind, Barnes coming deep, Gudmundsson wanting it to feet. Obviously, he doesn't beat a man anywhere near as good as Zaruri does, but they both want it to feet. It's kind of the same kind of vibe, I guess, whereas when you can bring Benson off the bench, even J-Rod coming off the bench, when we get Lyle Foster going, when we get Obafemi going, it's just going to pick up even more. I think that's going to click in the next few weeks. So I think by the time we've done Huddersfield, we've done Blackpool, Wigan as well, I think it should be 9 points and that goal difference should be flying up. Because realistically, all them teams, other than potentially Huddersfield, who can kind of do decent defensively, at home, they're like the only team in the league.
I'm not having this. I get it, it's Neil Warnock, but like...
No, listen. At home, there's only them and one other team that haven't conceded 2 or more goals at home in the Championship this season.
We're playing at turf, aren't we?
Yeah, no, I know, but I'm just saying defensively as a total, they're not as bad as, Blackpool and Wigan and stuff. I mean, we're battered Wigan 5-1. Like, I can see that being repeated. Blackpool, again, should be a leathering, which I'm looking forward to. But we just kind of need to not get complacent, I think. Like, with that trip to Blackpool, it is going to be a hard game still because of obviously going away from home yet again. Huddersfield at home should be a breeze. But yeah, things like that. And with the kind of local rivalry type thing aspect coming into it, anything can kind of happen sometimes. So realistically, 9 points. And I don't think we can really take anything other than 9 points.
I'll be surprised if we don't get 9 points from that, especially after our form is still good. I want to say one thing as well. as like a would you rather almost. Would you rather get promoted at Ewood, at Bastards, or have a FA Cup semi-final at Wembley?
This is so similar to the question that I had. Like, I got like massive response to on Twitter when I said about Europe. Semi-final at Wembley, just a semi-final, yeah.
Because actually, you know what? Actually, I'm a double down on it because the fact is, I believe if we beat Fleetwood, which hopefully we do, the game against Bastards should be rearranged, which makes it possible that we could actually win the title at Bastards. If that is rearranged correctly, it can make it possible. So I'm gonna change it. I'm gonna double down, win the title at Bastards, or get a semi-final at Wembley.
Just a semi-final. There's no guarantee we'll win the semi-final. Just a semi-final. Either
no
way.
guarantee we win it, but we're there, and we face Tottenham. So it's not even like against City. It's against like a maybe a possibility.
That's hard because like that winning at Ewood would literally like go down in history as like one of them, one of them moments that you'll never recreate. And I'll be there. So it'll be one of them where you will never ever get that back. But 30,000 clarets at Wembley, no nay never being belted out as we're going to the semi-final.
It's a real tough one because like you'll always have it on Blackburn forever that you beat them and you've won the title. But I guess they can always say, yeah, but it's not the Prem, it's only the Championship. But that's what they may say back to that, and they will. And the FA Cup, it's a tough one. I mean, we may, for all we know, lose to Fleetwood. I don't know how that's possible, but we could, right? But let's say we beat them, but then we have City in the quarterfinals, at the Etihad, and it's like game over. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's possible, but we could, looking at we could face like Grimsby or like Southampton.
Oh, Grimsby at home, please. Grimsby at home.
Like Southampton in the
Southampton at home, please.
It's possible. It's possible, right?
I'll die for it.
Look at chat, promoted at Bastards or semi-final for Research. Research the GOAT. Research the GOAT. What a boy. I'm going to leave you guys with that one in terms of that. I may actually tweet that out right now because I think that is such a close 50-50, I think. Oh, what would I have? I think I would have the semi-final at Wembley. I think I would. I think as a memory. Because we're so used to beating Bastards, man. We're so used to that. It's not even like an uncommon thing.
Place to win the title. I think I'd take getting promoted and winning the title at Bastards.
I don't know why. I think I'd rather win the title at Turf. No, I'm sorry. I used that wrong. Because I'm thinking about lifting the title at Turf. Of course, we won't lift the title at Bastards.
We'll just win it.
Nah, I still say Wembley, just because I feel like we beat Blackburn all the time, but we're not going to be in the FA Cup semi-final very, very often. It's going to be a very rare thing. So I think in terms of rareness, I may have to go for that. I think if it was just get promoted at Bastards, okay, definitely no. It's the fact it's a winning title and it's possible. Oh, I want to end off with that one. That's a great one. Jacob, where can the great people of Burnley find you?
Wait, what did you say, sorry?
Where can the great people of Burnley find you?
Oh, the great people of Burnley, just at Jacob Horsfall. No E. Gets spelled like wrong quite a lot. So, but if you just search up Jacob Horsfall.
Yeah, like a horse. Sure. Oh, yeah, that's very unfortunate. I'm so sorry about
that. Not many people. If you search me up with Jacob Horsfall, I'm pretty much one of the first people to come up. It'll be a Burnley versus Blackburn when we leathered them at home. So if you want to go, that's where I am. And all socials are the same. Jacob Horsfall, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, it's all the same. So Burnley, any football content, all there.
What a boy. Well, of course, if you're getting a bit old of me, the OAP now in the Burnley scene, you want some new blood, Jacob is your boy, doing great content in the Burnley scene, and a new wave, of course. So I'm looking forward to seeing you on commentary with Phil Bird in 5 years' time.
Oh yeah, definitely, 100%.
Mate, honestly, if I can do it, and you saw my content back in those days, if I can do it, and you can, okay. There's
I'll just scream at me. When you see Surreal running down, Surreal!
If he's the thing is, I felt so like looking back at that Brighton game, man. I look back at it, and I feel like I took such a big risk because like we scored like what the 20th minute or 30th minute. No, I think it's that 25th minute we scored our first goal. I think it was Brownhill, and like I went mad, and then I realized like instantly thinking, oh god, I think we won like one away game all season at that stage, and I'm like, I've just made a mockery of myself, and like we are going to lose this game probably. So it's going to be an awful time because I'm surrounded by Brighton fans behind me, and unfortunately that worked out quite well. But yeah, I do apologize to this day for people's eardrums. And
Well,
if I am on the call comms again, I'll try my best to be a bit more mature about it and not scream. But honestly, the thing is with Burnley, I can't promise anything. I really can't. I can only advise that prepare yourself, I guess.
Don't wear headphones.
Yeah, don't wear headphones. Jacob, absolute pleasure. Thank you for everyone that's listening on Spotify or Apple or on YouTube. Make sure to subscribe to the channel if you are new here. Also, drop a like as well. It does help out along the way. And also follow us on Spotify and Apple too. I am Vizeh, and I'll see you guys next time.